Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me, my books, and blogs on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. And if you would like to be a guest, you're welcome to contact me on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. We can work something out and get you on. Now, I have a return guest on. I'm happy to have my dad on, Jim Schoch, not my dad, but Jim Schoch, my guest. He has been on season 3, episodes 3, 37, 109, and season 4, 81, 113. And the last time I have him on is June 18th of 2023, but I know he's been on recently as well. But he is here in chapter 9 in my book, Raised by These Wolves, Volume 2. You can find that on Amazon, as well as these books are in audio now. Thank goodness. So I totally welcome you, Jim. You've had a rough Father's Day, like a lot of other dads that have not been able to have contact with their kids.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Marianne, for having me on. Um, yeah, it's just it's a tough thing to go through, especially around like you reference, the holidays and Father's Day and birthdays and things like that.
Mhm.
Um, so and thank you as well for mentioning me in the recent Dave Weigel podcast. Very, very, very informative.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. It was fun. I'm telling you, that time flew by as we were talking. It was like an hour and 40 minutes. Are you kidding me? I can't believe it flew. I'm telling you.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the problem. Speaking of time, in reference to our children, we're losing our precious moments in time where it just, like you said, flies by.
Mm,
And, we'll never get that time back. And,
never.
unfortunately, we are in this thing and it's just never good enough. There is no amount of evidence, there is no amount of paperwork, federal lawsuits. You cannot win in a banana republic in a board game where it's like Risk or Monopoly,
Hmm.
and they just keep changing pieces or changing the rules, manipulating. I mean, I've recently had CPLR 2103B, in the courtroom, where, this was violated, and, and also admittance on the record, and like nothing is being done about it, but yet they want to try to use things like phony family offense petitions, hearsay,
Hmm.
and these phony temporary orders of protection, which if your guests get them, I mean, basically just don't even sweat it because it's really meaningless. Just think of it like they gave you some extra toilet paper.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, poor Robert Garza, he's fought off over 42 of these things.
Hmm.
And and of course, there are clear violations of your amendments, like the first and whatnot. But it's just another tactic, illegal tactic actually, that they use against the non-custodial parent. Now, as a form of retaliation to keep your kids away from you, hence the other temporary custodial parent or whatever, or sole custodial parent, whatever, gets the most time so they can get the most money. And then, again, that gets back to like things like the Title 4D and E, because I believe it's for every dollar, they get like 66 cents through these incentives, the incentivizing to keep, the children away from the non-custodial. And that's another thing I'd like to bring up. How is it that in, I would say, 98% of these cases, how is it that when you go to these kangaroo courts, these fake courts, these maritime courts, because that's what they're operating under, maritime law, not the law of the land. And,
Hmm.
for your guests, please look that up. That's very important because that's how they're getting away with this.
And your American flag will have gold fringe around it.
Yes, yes. So, the the first thing they do is literally before you even sit down, like, you're labeled as the non-custodial parent. Well, I object.
Hmm.
What do you mean you object? I object because you're labeling me as a non-custodial parent and we haven't even begun.
Right. Right.
What the hell is that about? I mean, and in my particular case, like you know, caring, loving dad, the money, the
Hmm.
job, the security, good for, a child's development to be grounded, not bounced around place to place to place, state, through the states and counties, what have you. So he's like, and that's not my opinion. That's what like my original New York judge had stated on the transcript, which I have. So it was like, you know, you're already labeled, you know, there needs to be a transparency, and I do see it amongst some politicians and state representatives and whatnot, and of course, um, Garza's bills and everything with the Shared Parenting Act stuff, and actually a state representative right over here in PA actually, and we need to get that 50-50 Shared Parenting Act across the board, like right from the beginning,
Hmm. Hmm.
because like it's just they just make up stuff and label you,
Hmm.
and that's clear discrimination. Like we don't even have to like even start the family court. Like once they label you right then and there, that's
Hmm.
that's discrimination. That's defamation of character, slander. I mean, you've taken it upon yourself to put a label on the whatever the non-custodial parent, which there shouldn't even be such a thing.
Right.
If it took two people to make the children or the child,
Mhm.
you're parents. That's it. You are both parents. Now, if there's something going on where the other person's been in trouble with the law or this or that, then okay. And I think actually one of Garza's bills, show that. Not false allegations or hearsay. And
Hmm.
we need to have judicial accountability to punish those that have been going on for years, making up, false allegations. I mean, how is it, right?
Right.
And I don't want to ramble on, but how is it that a non-custodial parent, right? This is how laughable this is, can be paying child support and great health care, and you can't even have your friggin' kid? Like,
Exactly.
what the hell is that all about? Like, you've been doing your part. So, like in my case, I'm a man, I'm a dad, I'm a parent, and they can't say to me like, "Well, you're a deadbeat dad." So, what do they resort toward? He's a threat. He's a threat. Well, how many of these temporary orders and phony, false family offense petitions, do I have to like, fight off and basically wipe my ass with them? Like how many more, do I have to do that? Like till the kid's 18?
Right. Because they'll label us as dangerous and crazy.
Yeah,
Or wait, you're alienating the kids from that parent.
right.
However, you know what? I think the person that points out the alienation, like and in my case, as you know, the opposing attorney, I won't even say his name because it's like uttering Satan's name, but he was the one, as soon as we got into the courtroom, he called out, she's mentally ill and she's alienating the kids from the father. It's like, okay, so I mean, really, you've got three fingers pointing back at you, and that's exactly they were the offenders. No, I mean, I didn't even know what that was.
Right. Yeah, and who are they? Are they a doctor? Are they a mental whatever psychiatrist? Like, they don't even practice in the field.
No.
And you never even had, like, first off, you know, why would you even need to get like some sort of forensic or psyche eval when, like all you're there doing is just trying to get, some custody of your kids,
Right.
So again, it goes back to that whole board game that I was telling you about.
Hmm.
Like, no matter what you do, a lot of parents, most of the parents, they need to stop fooling themselves. I think the only way this is going to get solved is we need help from higher up. And now that we've seen state reps and legislatures literally be the like the piranha in the in the Amazon River or whatever, it got a nick on them, and now they want to cannibalize. They just want to eat like their own piranha. So that's what happens. Like with anything, like once it happens to one of them, like for example, like it happened to Trump in New York, where I'm
Mm-hmm.
fighting ground zero. With that Judge Egregon and that DA up there, Letitia
Letitia.
James,
Yeah.
nobody's above the law. Well, we've seen that now.
Yeah.
And and of course DA Bragg and stuff like that. And again, not to get political, but that was like the perfect example. Like, where's the proof? And now with this other thing they found out with this election fraud or what have you, like I think they sued for $30 million against those two news agencies for election interference. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, that's not my opinion. Like, just Google it. But you see, you have what my point is you have some very big people with some very powerful positions. And not only are they abusing their oath, they're acting as RICO. They are a cabal, like in
Mm-hmm.
my case. Like my son's hit the AFC and of course opposing counsel
Isn't his
uh,
name like David Pecker? Son, Pecker. It's not Peck. It's Peck
oh
though,
dear.
right?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
David James Peck of Brodsky and Peck, yeah. And yeah,
My mistake.
no, no mistake, the ER was an improvement.
Oh, good. Well,
Yeah.
see, we're trying to be
So
positive.
yeah, right. I mean, so he doesn't even realize too that like he actually said on the record like this is how stupid they are because they can't keep track of their lives. He told one of my attorneys, and I have the proof, that the child needs. I agree, the child needs to be in the father's life immediately. This is how he talks, and but then in the courtroom, it's like wait a minute, what? Like the man is trying to phony accuse me of like of abuse, like you can't get it out, you know. They did that back in what the hell was it? 2024 of after I had my son December for like 5.5 days of
Right,
2023 and everything was great.
right.
And Judge Maryann Scatteratico neighbor, that disgraceful
Well,
criminal,
well, I
she
I like the last name of Scataratico because it sounds more sexy.
oh yeah, exactly. That's another child trafficker that,
Oh
you know,
yeah,
4 years and some change or whatever on the case. And she
a child abuser in a black robe.
oh yeah. Well, I think these judges, especially these I call them court actors and court
Uh-huh.
actresses, which I didn't coin that. That was there long before me. Just like the term silver bullet tactic.
Uh-huh.
To name a couple. They need to change the color of their robe, their Halloween costume from black to
Right.
red,
Oh
because
yeah.
King George the Third never really lost the battle. And see, right here, that's where it is, baby. Right there, 1776. That's where we're at because they're violating, our not only our due process, but we need to bring them back from that maritime law out at sea. We need to bring them back to the law of the land where the Constitution is the rule of the law. Okay? There you
Right,
go.
right, because I want to bring up my friend Michael Thunder Phillips, who wrote in Substack a second declaration how the family court crisis mirrors the reason we fought for independence. This was a really good article. I won't read it, but please everyone check him out on Substack and subscribe to him. He writes beautifully, totally
Hmm.
smooth like James Patterson. But anyway,
Oh yeah, that
something,
Substack and everything, and Richard Luthman, the guys, they're great.
yes, yes.
Yep. I would also like to quote, like freedoms, like what freedoms? I would like to bring up Cash Jackson, and I won't read the whole thing, but he basically states, and this is a time when we're supposed to be celebrating our independence, from the crown, from King George the Third,
Mm,
the Brown Bess, muskets
yeah,
and whatnot. I mean, come
yeah.
on. And he says, like a day ago, in America, I'm so free that I haven't hugged my daughter in 7.5 years. I'm so free that I got 3 phone calls with with my youngest son in a 6 year period that cost me over $15,000. I'm so free that I got a $1 million bail for a first-time nonviolent felony. I'm so free that they threatened me with 50 years, right? Sound familiar, Maryann? Like the
Yeah.
Monica case, right? That they
Yeah.
were threatening her in New Jersey for 30, I don't know, 3 years or something.
Yep.
And of
Yep.
course, we know why, because the judge and the cop, ex-husband or whatever, are all connected.
Yep.
You know, the
Yep.
cabal, the cabal.
It's
And
all connected, people.
right, and they're abusing those positions. And he just goes on to say, you know, if over 50 years, a natural life sentence where if I exercise my constitutional right to a trial, he goes, and he goes on and on and on about constitutional rights. So, and they, of course, they put him into debtor's prison that was outlawed over 100 years ago.
Been
The
there. Yep.
right, the child support extortion. So, and again, it went back to what, I touched on the Title IV D&E,
Mm.
with the dollar for every 66 cents incentives. But I don't know. You know what? Since our last podcast, what have you, I'm now pro se litigant.
Mm-hmm.
I've had, oh God, I had, well, let's see, New York. I've had across the three states, eight judges, one in
Mm-hmm.
Florida, one in Pennsylvania, um, and then six in New York. And some of them were like a referee attorney and a referee judge.
Mm.
Um, so when you have that many individuals, as far as like at least on the bench, right there, it proves guilt.
Right.
They're recusing
Yep.
themselves. Right there, it's a huge admittance of guilt. And the FBI isn't doing their job
Mm.
with, correct me if I'm wrong, Marianne, but it's USC 241 and 242. I believe it's 42 USC. Yeah,
I believe.
because 18 USC 1983 is another big one.
Oh, yeah.
Right on their website, when these type of civil rights violations and vexatious litigation, violating your rights, it states right up there. And they always want to come back to, oh, that's a civic matter. Civic matter, civil matter, my ass.
Right. Yeah.
Because
Right.
please, I would believe them if it was a short amount of time, short, okay, whatever. But when you have cases like mine, 6 years, like, come on, like, what is this? Like, what are they looking for, like a dead body somewhere, like in a criminal case or something where there was a serial killer, like, missing persons, I guess is probably the better description.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, I'm just trying to have a relationship with, my son. And, under Pennsylvania law, even I'm entitled to that. I'm paying child support, healthcare. So,
Right. Oh, yeah,
so
because your
mhm.
case, your child support is in Pennsylvania, but then your child custody is in New York State, and this leads us back to Morgan versus Morgan.
Yes, yeah, that's one of the cases that won for actually no child support in New York. And there are many others. And again, it gets back to, like you can't play their game because they're just going to keep you in this Alice in Wonderland or, environment where you show up and, it's like this isn't your coffee cup.
Yeah.
Like this is your coffee cup. You gotta like, and it's like,
Uh-huh.
and you look around and the characters is a rabbit and the Mad Hatter, which is the judge, and the other child traffickers up there, like, like the attorney who's fighting against me, Sherry Beth Rackman. I mean, she's made this personal. Like she
Oh,
just
it is. It's vengeance.
yeah, it's actually vexatious litigation, vengeance, it's hatred. Can't stand the fact that, I'm a solid dad, I'm a parent.
Or she's I don't know. I like to do social experiments. I'm wondering if she looks at you and says, "Boy, there's a good man. I should have married somebody like him." And now I'm pissed because I didn't. And the only way she can control her life is to come after you.
Yeah, that sounds
I mean,
about right.
that's a
Yeah.
theory, but call me crazy,
Oh, hey, they've called us everything else. Why not, right?
right?
I mean, but does a crazy person fight for their son for almost 6 years? Does a crazy person pay child support? Does a crazy person run away from, run towards the fire, not away from it?
Mhm.
Does a crazy person give the kid excellent, Horizon Blue Cross and Blue Shield healthcare? I mean, is that a crazy person? Is a crazy person one that does everything the courts has asked him to do and then
Mhm.
some? And you know, and
Right.
and and still takes the judicial abuse. I mean, and I blame the cops, the bailiffs, because they're witnessing, they're the peace officers. I blame them. I blame the judges. I blame the attorneys in there because they are all violating not only their oath, like take me out of it, you're violating your oath.
Right.
No matter what case comes in there, you're violating your oath. And you're supposed to keep the peace. So you need to start arresting these judges and lawyers doing this. You don't have to be, you know what it is? They're scared
They
because they're
are.
just in it for a paycheck and I get it, like a retirement. But the thing is like, they um I lost my train of thought, but they just like need to keep the peace and they
Right.
don't do it. They just go with the flow because
There's
I'm
no
just
oversight.
following, yeah, I'm just following orders.
Yeah, they're policing themselves and they will
Yes,
even back up the judge because I think I told you I had some 80-year-old bailiff and I swear to God he had to be
I
80, right?
remember that. Yeah.
Right? And I yelled at the judge as he was walking off the bench, Your Honor, my kids are being neglected. But who cares, right? But the
Yep.
bailiff comes up wagging his bony finger and says, Ma'am, I'm gonna put you in jail if you keep yelling. And it's like, not my first
Yeah, but
rodeo.
yet they can yell and scream at you all day long. Oh my God.
Yeah, right.
My son, not my son, the law, Ms. Rackman against me. Oh my God, like, whoo, I'm surprised she don't have laryngitis or something like that, like, vocal
Mhm.
cord strain or whatever, because wow,
Oh,
you
I'd
know.
love to talk to her.
Yeah, well, the problem is, they can only win and have a leg up because it's on their like baseball game field, so to say. Like, you go to the home, you're on their home turf, but
Mhm.
unfortunately, they're not following any, laws or anything. They're just doing whatever the hell they want and just kicking the
At
can
the
down the road
right,
over and over.
at the expense of a child that needs both parents.
Yes, agreed. Yep, he really does. I mean, it's a shame. I mean, as I never started this thing out for sole custody. I just wanted to, do 50-50 or, just try close to it. I mean, it's all on the records and it
Oh,
was never good
hell.
enough.
Hey, Jim, I wish you were my ex-husband because you'd be a hell of a lot easier to work with than the one I got.
Right, right.
Oh,
I hear you. Yeah, yep. Because no matter what like bad blood our exes have for us, it's not about us. It's about the kids. And how do they think like this kid is gonna feel? Not that they really care, but I know I wouldn't want to be that parent. If I was doing this to my ex, like I wouldn't want to be that parent that would be like doing the game like that. And all of a sudden one day our son wakes up and he's like, wait a minute. Like wait a minute. Like, that's not the story. Whether
yep,
he sees these videos or God, God forbid, whatever. Like, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, as children get older or whatever, I mean, they learn, like what happened. And we know that because we've seen um the children come forth as adults, as young
right.
adults, and speak their cases. You probably had some of them on your show.
Right. And I mean, repressed memories. I used to think that was like a fake thing people would pull in courts until I had a repressed memory wake me up. And I remember that my ex had worked on a patent when we were married, though, but he didn't report this to the court. So that is lying on omission. So he hid monies, but that was
Mm,
totally after the fact. Like, why didn't I have this dream in 2015? That would have solved the whole problem there. That
mm.
nipped everything in the bud. And I would have just said, just stay, everybody, just stay doing what they're doing, and
Right.
just because we had the kids going 5 days on, 5 days off. And they were used to that schedule for 10 years
Hmm.
until we had this corrupt judge, Sam Broke. And if you text his name in, it comes up Sam, Broke, because you're broke. You're literally broke when you leave that courtroom, right?
right?
But where was I going with that? Do you see what I mean? My
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
it's,
the like you
yeah.
said, um, the patent on him, but there, and like I said, there's just no amount of evidence. I mean,
Mm-mm.
it's unfortunate that these children are going to grow up, and then eventually one day find out the truth.
Oh, they will.
And some of these parents aren't even here anymore because they, died of heart attacks or they moved on with their life or whatever.
Hmm.
They, health reason, whatever. Like, I mean, or they got broke from the family court system, which is a common playbook tactic, and they want you to live on the street. And see, you can't go with your mom or dad now because they're homeless.
Right,
Well, I wonder why.
right.
So, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
it's clearly not in the child's best interest.
No, and they have to stop the supervised visitation where a parent has to pay to see their child, but yet if you're a
Yep.
criminal in prison, you get to
Yeah.
see them for free.
Yeah. And
So
how is it that you got to undergo forensics, right? Or you got to go through supervised visitation when you're paying child support for your kid and you're
right.
not in arrears or anything? Like, get the hell out of here. It's
I know.
it's such a
No,
bad joke.
and constitutionally, child support is allegedly voluntary.
Right. That's true.
So
Yeah.
even this debtor's prison was
Yep.
abolished in 1834. So these judges are abusing this at taxpayers' expense. There's so
Right.
much the taxpayer doesn't know. And I wish taxpayers would court watch. I wish they would go into and it's open. You
Mhm.
can go in there and watch and take notes and say, did the judge just treat the mom or the dad like that? Did they just
Right.
scream at the mom and dad? Okay, so
Well, yeah.
oh,
No,
but I was
but
gonna
it just
say,
brings my point. The
yeah,
cameras in the courtroom bill. But
right.
go ahead.
Yeah, right. And the thing is, these court watchers and with the cameras and with the recordings, court watchers also have a duty to report this judge, report the behaviors. Believe me, I have reported, I know it's a pain in the rear end. You have to pull up the form, especially when it's in Florida, Miami-Dade, or wherever you're court watching, but it has to be done because I'm telling you, everyone is a taxpayer. It could be the 114th complaint that gets that judge off the bench and they retire with honors so they
Yeah.
could collect their pension, even though they destroyed so many lives.
Yeah. I know. And that's what happens too, where they take a like in police officer, they'll suspend them without pay or with pay, whatever. I mean, it's like, and that's okay, like if there's pending investigation, but like at least in like the Mark Fishman case, which I know he's been on your show many times, they literally, I think, fired whatever Lane Schellinger, whatever the police with the
Yeah.
abuse.
Yeah. Schlesinger, I can't even say
Yes.
his name.
Yeah. I mean, and and look, I know there's attorneys out there that want to do the right thing, but you can't do it in family court because you're going to lose your license from a private agency called the bar. Like, first off, what the hell is that about? You have a private company, like friggin' issuing licenses, like nah, that ain't cool. Like, it's got to be like like a government agency or something.
Hmm. Hmm.
So.
Yeah, the British Accreditation Regency is what the bar stands for. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, what does that tell you right here? Like, come on, like,
1776, that didn't go very far. I'm sorry.
right, exactly. How did, the British, exactly. And then you look at like the Federal Reserve, it's like the old people always say it's no more federal than Federal Express, and it's so true.
Yeah.
It's a you know, private company, but I don't know, Marianne, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm pro se litigant, and I've had let's see, it was 10 lawyers in the state of New York now between paid for and 18B. And they're all, they're all worthless. They don't want to file this or that, they don't want to do their job and because they're being threatened,
Right.
and
And
you
oh,
know,
parents have to be aware that when they do talk to an attorney, this attorney is feeding them a good line. I mean, if we're talking about a schmoozer, Because I can honestly say I had one brilliant attorney. So not all of them are bad, but they got to make a money. They got to make a living at this. They got to make their money
Sure,
at this. And
sure.
parents have to realize that, if a lawyer says, "Yeah, $10,000, I can make this all go away." Oh no, that's not going to happen when you're a target parent.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad. It's a sad state of affairs. I mean, ultimately, by their lack of these courts and these attorneys, their lack of judicial oversight, litigation where they're supposed to litigate jealously for you is what the Attorney Bar Association states.
Mhm.
And they're not doing that. The children are the ones that, suffer the most
Oh yeah, yeah,
at the hands of this judicial abuse, judicial misconduct, and of course, judicial tyranny, as you always uh, will find me, saying that quote. So, because it's nothing, it's exactly what it is,
right, right.
and
I
but
mean,
yeah,
I mean, I've only had two good judges. I was saying it one for time, but then I remembered I have had two good judges. The one, my superior court attorney handled him, and he really saw the truth, and he did everything she asked because everything was so convoluted, and
mhm,
he saw through the lies. Let's just say he saw through the lies, and if it wasn't for her, I'd be dead. I can
mhm,
honestly say that. I can't give her name out because everyone would be calling her. But the two good judges, the one was in 2019, I think we used not, or we ended up with him, and the other one was in 2015. That was an emergency petition. He was the one that was super good looking, and as soon as I walked in the room, I had to put my head down because it's like, when you see someone that good looking, you have to look down because it's like, oh man, just let the lawyer do the talking.
uh, yeah, I mean, as far as like good judges, I mean, my um my Judge Maxine Cheeseman in Florida, I mean, she seemed to be good. I mean,
She
but
was
again,
super.
what's that?
She was super fair with you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a totally different state, she basically, went on evidence and went on, common sense and went
Mhm.
on the law, especially like the UCCJA. Although, in New York at the time, parallel when that was going on, had a judge, a referee, Judge Cohen, and on the transcript, I mean, he was screaming, a child was kidnapped, and he raised his hands, and I was like, oh my God, like he was going off,
Uh-huh.
like he was yelling, and of course, Sherry Rackman is, she was shaking, but was it all court acting? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's what the man said. I mean,
Hmm.
again, not my opinion. It's on the transcript. So, you know,
I
but
mean,
then the rest of
sometimes it's
them
not.
that, and he was a referee
Hmm.
judge, but honestly, that should have been a judge, like a real judge.
Right,
He may be now, I don't know, but you know,
right,
um,
right. I mean, and I know that the parents are going to federal court. They're trying to sue, and really, I hope everybody wins because I could not, due to the collusion that the opposing attorney that was representing the entity and the two fat caseworkers that had an obesity issue, he hauled me into a boardroom as I was dropping off exhibits. And he said, I'm going to tell you how this case is going to go. I know both of the judges in the federal courthouse. I'm going to get this case dismissed. And that's pretty much how it's going to go. So, man, if you hear anything weird like that, if you can
mhm,
get it in a recording, which I couldn't because my phone was in the car charging, so that was not
mhm.
helpful. But I put it into an affidavit, submitted it to all parties,
Oh,
and
good.
yes, he got in trouble. Plus, I reported him to the Supreme Court Disciplinary Board. That's what
Nice.
we do in Pennsylvania. And they listened. They didn't listen the first time. You know how you get the namby-pamby letter,
Oh,
and
yeah, of course.
it right with me. And I'm like, no, what he did was wrong. And I called him up and I ended up with a very nice attorney. And he said, look, you got to be more specific provide us more information. What else can
Right.
you give us? And I did. I gave him more, and that
Good.
sealed the deal.
Good. And see, that's why we need these judges and lawyers. I mean, just like the police, they need to have body cameras because, that's why they're wearing theirs because too many people, the citizenry was getting killed and abused and all this stuff. And that's why they're wearing, that's why, they're wearing the body cameras today. And honestly, like litigants, parents, we really need like our own body camera in there because,
Oh, you read my mind. You read my mind. I was
yeah.
talking to an older woman whose son was wearing a body cam based on what the kids may say
Hmm.
to get him locked up.
Yeah. Especially when children have been brainwashed,
Right.
like, I mean, and they've lived, with the other parent for so long, and they're
Hmm.
living in a situation where it's like, you know, that if they don't do what like the other parent is, like brainwashing them in, then they're the ones that have to go back and live with it and in fear of retaliation if they didn't do what that parent wanted them to do.
Oh, right. Like,
It happens a lot.
yes, yes, it does. People
Yeah.
don't realize. I remember one parent said to me, "Well, where's CPS for the parents? Where's our protection?"
Yeah. Oh, like that's great. Wow. Yeah. Hey, maybe we should start our own department.
Yeah, right. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
But
Because go ahead.
speaking of departments, that brings me to a point of some of our some of our individuals here are politicians in charge. Like, for example, Pam Bondi and Tom Homan and Kash Patel. I mean, it's like, especially with Homan, like, okay, they're dealing with like, they got like, I don't know, 300,000 or something kids at the border and all this. So they're already admitting to, okay, we got child trafficking, we great bust and now we can
Mhm.
we save these kids and stuff blah blah blah. And okay, they're doing their jobs in that respect, but they're hypocrites to where they're not looking in their own backyard. They're not looking
Right.
in their own, phony, fake courtrooms because these judges and lawyers and AFCs, you know, they're child trafficking, running racketeering operations, and none other than kids for cash schemes like they did in 2013 in Pennsylvania with the
Right.
judges.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
I mean, it's like they can't tell me, like in my case and in your case, with the vexatious litigation going on so long, they cannot tell me that this is not a form of child trafficking and child psychological abuse.
Thank you. Yep.
They are abusing the children because you are, using your power as a gang membership to RICO, to do this RICO to keep these children away on hearsays and of course money. But that is a form of child trafficking. The 14th Amendment guarantees that we shall raise these children undisturbed. And like I told them in that
Yeah.
court, said, you are disturbing me. You are disturbing
Hmm.
me from being a parent. You're violating my 14th Amendment rights, and of course, the child's rights, and these children's rights. So so where is our administration? Where is what we voted for, if you voted for it, whatever, where are they? I mean, they're doing a lot of good, okay, like but the thing is, I mean, I don't want to hear this, oh, that's a civil matter or a civic matter. No, no, no. This is a child trafficking matter. You don't keep children away from caring, loving, able, fit parents. You just don't do it. And if you do it, you ought to be judicially accountable and you ought to face the law.
Hmm. Hmm.
Whether that is jail time, fines like the Garza bill, like the time taken back bill with the $500 first offense, second offense the same, and then federal felony jail time, the third offense.
Exactly. Exactly. And they want to get that into all 50 states. The sooner the better.
Sooner the better.
Right. And also the false accusations that there would be some penalty for multiple false accusations.
Right.
Uh, that needs to be happening.
Like,
Also, oh,
mhm.
go ahead.
No, because no, go ahead, finish your point. Go
Well,
ahead.
the thing with the false accusations, same thing like reporting, making false reports to CPS on a parent that has never done anything. Like I had two back-to-back ones that I was cleared of. What a waste of time and money for the taxpayer. Hello, taxpayer. Okay,
Hmm.
so then there should be a uh, false accusation list, kind of like how they have the child abuser list.
Hmm.
There should be one for these false accusation individuals that have nothing better to do than to make a person's life miserable and ruin their careers.
Right. Agreed. I mean, I'm in my cross-examination right now, and I'm not even allowed to enter evidence. But they can. I'm told to stick to the timeline. Well, wait a minute. Like, what timeline? Like, they could go back to a timeline from years ago, but I have to stick to I don't know, from December 2023.
Thank
Like,
you.
and I just kind of like volunteered that out there because they were like, stick to the time. Like, what timeline? You talking about from the time that, I got a short order with no reason why I can't see my son? Like, get the hell out of here. And,
Right.
and them false allegations like that, how are you going to have false allegations like when you don't even have a police report? Like, what the hell is that all about? Like how are you going to like even try to put these temporary orders on? And then, like in my case, the judge got rid of like 98% of all the
Oh,
crap.
good.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, so, it just, but again, I mean, yeah, the judge may seem fair, but this is just going on and on and on and on and on and on and on, like forever.
Right.
And, like I don't have forever. So sorry. But, you know, um, if you're making up stuff, and you know what, Facebook posts and things like that, and this is what I told them in that courtroom a couple of times, or a few times. It said, if Facebook policies exist, which we all know they do, and you could be thrown in Facebook jail or YouTube, social media, or any platform where if something is said and it's either threatening, derogatory, whatever, Facebook has, these these type of social media platforms, they have people that's their job. That's all they do. They look for these things and then they flag you and then they might remove the post and in some cases they'll report you to the authorities.
Oh,
So my
yeah.
question to the court numerous times was if my posts, okay, or so-called they found these posts, right? They don't even have an IP address, right? If these posts are in any way threatening, derogatory, whatever, if Facebook or social media, YouTube doesn't have a problem with it, why does the family court system?
Oh, they use everything against us. Like, for instance, when my
Freedom
judge
of
died,
speech.
I know when my judge died, I put the celebration emojis, like eight of them, and
Yeah.
posted it. And of course, my ex brought that up to the child support judge, Judge Elizabeth Kelly. Bye bye, Judge Elizabeth Kelly. But anyway, it's like she wasn't impressed. She just looked down. Yes, I'm well aware of that. And, I mean, she didn't care.
Right. And hey, that's your freedom of speech. I mean, look, I know of a case that made the news. And this person was employed and they were literally burning a religious book in public many years ago, and it made the news. And he was fired, and then eventually he got his job back for freedom of speech. Now, of course, was it in bad taste? Yeah. I mean, we shouldn't be burning, religious books and flags and things, but was it his constitutional right to do so? Absolutely.
Mhm,
And that's what the court at the time had saw.
mhm.
So, I mean, and we don't even have anything like that. Like, we're just parents, trying to be parents, but we're being blocked. And it's
Mhm.
like we're not even doing anything like that, And it's like, but they're trying to use that vexatious litigation against us to
Oh,
make us out to be these monsters.
yes, and that we're crazy. And the
Yeah,
thing
of course.
is actually a compliment. People need to know that when they're a pro se litigant and you've got the opposing attorney calling you crazy, she acted or he acted crazy today. Well, it's because that pro se litigant knew the law and they were pointing out the right things that are there and they
Hmm.
don't like it. So then they call you
Right.
crazy. Great gaslighting. It's
It is, and it all comes down to them with one common denominator with all of them, is, the ones in charge is they're breaking the law. The rules apply to us, but not to them,
right.
and I mean, come on. I know cases that have come and gone. I know cases in New Jersey, cases in Pennsylvania, that have come and gone, over with, settled. Why, why is this case going on almost 6 years in New York? Why? You would think this is a case like, I don't know, the O.J. Simpson trial, what, like year after year. And I mean, like,
Yep.
I'm in two books over, in two of your books. I thank you for that. Looking forward to the third one this year. I
Yeah.
was filmed by a movie company. I mean, I didn't, start this thing out for, to be in the limelight, on stage with, you
Hmm.
know, publicity or whatever like that, and I mean, I just trying to have quality time with, my son.
Hmm.
And still I'm being blocked, I'm being slandered, and you know what? The defamation of character, and and we've had the federal lawsuits on that. I mean, but at the end of the day, I mean, none of that's abandoned. I mean, I have no problem putting another federal lawsuit and adding names to it. It's no problem. It's
Hmm.
just that they just want to keep fighting. But I think they know their time is short as far as with state reps and
Hmm.
congressmen and women and legislators, because I do know that, like in the Mark Ludwig,
Oh,
with his, all right, another heroic,
love
angel.
him.
Yeah, he's great. I think he's got like something like 40 something legislatures and people behind him.
Right.
So their time is short. Their
Right.
time is short. There's going to be bills. I mean, even in New York, there's a bill to get the forensics gone. They always put the 50-50 shared parenting bill like specifically there in the House, but governors like Hochul, whatever,
Oh, oh,
got that.
sorry.
Oh, I know.
But
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know.
Mark Ludwig, he's talking about the Title 4D funding, which is child support enforcement. And I'm
Yes.
so glad he's putting his energy into doing something about that.
Mhm.
God bless him. And
Yeah, God bless him. Yeah.
I hope he gets this done. And, I noticed there's a latest trend, a grassroots movement of of family first, of these
Mhm.
legislators starting to put the family first
Right.
coming
Right.
movement. So this is great. And Gabe Woolley from Oklahoma is, pushing that.
Right.
And Chris Felder over there in Florida, he's pushing that,
Mhm.
as well as Jamie Flick in Pennsylvania. So
Yes.
there's
Yes.
more. See, it's evolving. It's coming.
It's
People.
evolving. It's coming. Speaking of State Representative Flick, he actually sent me his email on his posts. So he wanted me to reach out to him, so I did. So I can't really say any more about that, but yeah, this is great. I mean, having people such as yourself, your platform. I mean, you're an angel out here giving us a great platform. Of course, I have the shockwave, which has been obviously lacking lately due to the abuse that I'm going through from them. I mean, and who knows, maybe they'll even try to use this against me
Well,
with
I
my
hope
freedom of
not.
speech.
We haven't said anything bad about anything. In fact, we'd want to say something good. I want
Right,
to say something good about your judge. And
right,
I think if we had more people that actually came forward and said, hey, this judge really did the right thing. This judge was fair. This
right.
judge, you know,
Oh, I'm telling you, he or she, I mean, I would be their biggest cheerleading fan in the bleachers, I mean, I
right,
really would. But, even as far as lawyers go, I mean, come on, lawyers, step
right,
up.
right,
You can't operate in your job out of fear. You
right,
can't.
right. I mean, like, I can't name the Supreme Court attorney that helped me because
Mhm.
she was already overburdened after my case because I was telling people to go to her. But the good judge, I'll name only one of them. I can't name the other one because I've said how cute he is. But but the one that helped also with my attorney, that was Judge Joe Walsh in Erie County, and he did the right thing. So we can
Okay.
give him a pat on the back. He did the right thing. He saw through the BS, and so I have to give him, kudos for that.
Right. You know, speaking of that, my attorney before me actually going pro se litigant, strangely enough, Shonda McClendon Dash Smith, I really think she wanted to do the right thing. She was a young attorney. Um, I believe she kind of stated something like she might have been a little bit inexperienced for this case, but opposing counsel had literally given her emails, and I have those emails that they wanted to make a deal for not only the joint legal custody again
Uh-huh.
to head, but for the joint physical custody, which I'm sure you know that across the board in all the states, that pretty much means that the child will live with you and the other parent pretty much close to 50% of the time, um, you know, um, or at least close to it.
Right.
So, and
Right.
then it was just taken off the table. Like, so it's
Yeah.
like, so I guess my whole thing is, and I hope my judge is listening and many others are listening, besides our stalkers, is if you're that good enough to have joint legal custody and joint physical custody where, you trust the other parent enough,
Hmm.
because your lawyer has a duty to report and offer, right? Isn't that how it goes?
Hmm.
So, and again, I have the emails to prove it. Um, if you're that good enough for that, well, why are we still litigating? Like,
Right.
what's the friggin' problem? So, that's the thing. I mean, and like in my case, I had just asked her only like, well, because I think the other party wanted like final say, and I was like, well, but doesn't that violate joint legal custody? Like, please clear it up for me. It wasn't, and they just kind of like dropped it. So it's
Mhm.
like, well, why? Like, I don't understand. Like, you wanted to litigate, but then, or talk about it, then you can't even do that. So that right there shows you that there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of anger or whatever on the opposing counsel. I don't know, or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, she seems like she has a lot of anger and you know,
Yeah, her lawyer has a lot of anger going on. And I
see,
don't
and
know.
that's just it. We were talking about this on another podcast, is the lawyers that fuel it.
Yes. Well,
So,
they're billable hours.
right.
So we need to stop this. Like, come on. I mean, like they've charged the taxpayer because that lawyer's 18B. It's so crazy because she's fudging the documents where it's like 1 minute she's retained, then she's 18B, then she retained 18B. And it's like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's not
Isn't
cool,
that a
man.
malpractice issue?
Probably.
I'm just guessing.
Team is looking into it. You
Yeah.
know, just one of the
Well,
areas that
God
are
is
under
watching.
investigation.
Yep. Yep.
I mean,
God is
it's
watching.
like, like, you, you know, I don't know, like you're either paid or not paid, like, but at the end of the day, like 18B, the taxpayer's been paying for this for years.
For other people
And
too.
yeah, but I don't have any kids. It doesn't affect me.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
yeah. Okay, so then my advice to you, if you think it's not going to affect you, then don't have kids.
Yeah, but even with them not having any kids, they're still paying for them lawyers, you know?
Right. And
They're
they need
paying
to
for the
know
court
that.
time. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you
Oh,
wonder
it's
why your taxes are so high,
exactly.
go talk to your state representative and find out why these taxes, or your legislature, find out, let's look for solutions to this
Yep.
horrific problem that parents and these poor kids are
Yeah.
going through. Um, uh,
Well, at the end of the day, Marianne, I mean, this podcast, I think it's been great and informative, and I'm grateful for you to where I can, get my notes out here and kind of bring you up to speed on my case. Again, I'm pro se litigant right now, but again, I am being blocked.
Mhm.
which, violates my rights. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know how I cannot be allowed, to where I want to introduce evidence, I want to cross-reference, and her lawyer is literally like putting her hand out to try to stop her client from answering the questions. Even the judge corrected her on the
Oh,
record.
wow. Okay, so
Yeah,
that
she had
that's a
stated
good
like, Miss
judge.
Ragman, Miss Ragman, you need to let your client answer the questions. So, I mean, it's like again, it's like that's not a court. Like, look, I'm no lawyer, you know what I mean? But I think I'm doing pretty damn good after all these years and got a lot of good people helping me
Hmm.
and of course, software and things like that. But at the end of the day, we're wasting a lot of time. The
Oh,
children are
yes.
suffering, the child suffering. Um, especially where like, the child has become confused as to like in these cases where they become confused and they don't know like their mommy or daddy.
Right. Oh, well,
Because
even in my case, and mine were tweens, all right? And the ex, his wife, who enjoys her job at the Erie County Courthouse, she was forcing the kids to call her mom, even though a judge stood there and said, "No, you cannot do this. You can't have the kids calling you mom or dad. That's not
right.
happening." Okay, well then, how do you stop it, Judge?
I know. That's crazy. I know. I mean, like my judge had when I was litigating not too long ago and the child psychological abuse came up and parental alienation, the judge had agreed with that on the record, on the transcript. So I was like, I mean, that wasn't my opinion. That was the judge said that.
Well, that's awesome to hear. That's just
Yeah, I
that made
mean,
my day.
yeah, I mean it's sad because
Yeah,
the child, but it's like it's a positive coming from a judge hearing that. But
right.
again, is it just all court acting? We don't know
Well,
because
what she said is
here's
on the record, so that, you know,
that's true. Yeah, that's true. So, but yeah, I just, I feel so bad, for him because he's missing out on so much.
hmm.
And again, I didn't do this to be like, well, I have more, she has less, or she has more and I have less. Like, it's not a competition thing with me. I just,
Same.
want him to experience some great things.
Right. And there's no
Like
reason why he can't.
right, like fishing with his dad, and being on the farm. So, like I mean, like his grandmother, I mean, our grandparents and parents, they're older,
Right.
so they're not going to be around, forever.
Hmm.
And, we're, like parents are robbing the time from the child. Like I laugh at this when I hear this, well, grandparents' rights. Well, show me a grandparent that ever won.
Right. And
Like I
also,
never, if
yeah.
we can't win as parents, how are grand? So, they have all these rules and all these things written down, but nothing is being nothing is being, honored for the judicially targeted parent.
Right. And another important thing that these kids need to know is their medical history. So they need to
Yep,
know if there's, if grandpa had, say, a heart condition or a
sure.
kidney condition, and this thing is possibly inherited, like type 2 diabetes, things like
Right,
that. I mean, there's medical information these kids really need to know. So if
right.
that other parent is withholding that, they're
Well, they won't even talk to you. The other parent, even under times, they're under times where there are no temporary orders or there are no
right,
family offenses, like, and especially like in my case where I had joint legal custody paying for the child, like I'm finding out through my healthcare provider that, child, explanation of benefits, is what it's called. So it's like, okay, well, I didn't, and it's just, but that's not up to them. It's parents need to co-parent and discuss these things, amongst each other. I
Hmm.
don't even care if it's a text message. So what? I mean,
Right.
is it literally that hard to do?
Right.
And
You really don't need our family wizard, which is sponsored by the
no, and
ASPCA. You
that's
don't
another
need that.
scam.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another podcast. But if
Yeah,
people
yeah, the
just
supervised visitation, the
know,
wizard, you know what, the wizard can, you know what, magically go poof and go away because that's
yeah,
all crap. It's all money. It's all scam.
right.
And you know what? It's just, you know what? People, we're civil, text each other. Hey, took the kid to the doctor, blah, 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 whatever. Just,
Right.
okay, no problem.
Right.
Let me know, keep me updated. That's
Yeah,
it.
it's no big deal. And
It's no big deal,
don't
but
listen to other influences. You might have people chirping in your ear. Well, they should be
oh yeah, the
household. They
friends, the
should be doing this.
family.
Yeah, and it's like block it off. And I'll tell you one quick story, then I'll let you go.
Yeah.
I can't keep you all. I could talk to you all day, but
Same.
but I had a friend, and they were divorced, and she was having problems with one of the boys, so she told her ex, the father, and the father came to the door with his girlfriend. So, they were talking, and the girlfriend had to chip her in. And he looked at her, he looked at the girlfriend and said, "This is between me and my ex-wife.
Right.
Please stay out of it."
Perfect.
And I was like, okay, I like this guy. This is
Yeah,
great. Okay, so it can be done. If you're
absolutely.
if you're not working with a personality disorder, that's another podcast, Jim.
Right, definitely. I just want to add in one point on that before we go and wrap up. Besides enjoying this beautiful weekend here, it's a beautiful day.
Yeah.
All right. Um, I noticed New Hampshire has a bill to basically abolish family court. I mean, if that isn't something to celebrate. However, they want to have like a mediator. They want to actually have
Right.
like a court where it's kind of like a judge figure, and you can read the bill in its entirety if you just kind of Google what I stated on New Hampshire, where they would bring the parents together to co-parent. And okay, let's see the parenting plans. Let's look at the schedules, blah, blah, blah.
It
It's so easy. It's a no-brainer.
I would love
They
to
want to
be a
make this like
mediator.
rocket science because
Yeah.
it creates division and it creates money and it creates the game on and on and on.
Hmm.
And you lost when you blink, you lost years, which and like in my case with my son, I lost
Right.
years.
Right. I mean, I would love to be a mediator. I really think I could do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. There's
I
so
know.
much,
Well,
I
hey,
could
you know
save
what?
people so much money.
This has been great. I mean, like I said, I mean, I think that the audience if they've stayed this far to the end, they've known that they can probably just hear it in our voices, that we're genuine. They can see it in our eyes, and we're being targeted and abused, and I blame our government and our state agencies for allowing that to happen. And it's clearly not America the free. And until that changes and we get a restoration of our republic and the Constitution, however that may be, we're just going to keep living in this, modern day King George III tyranny,
Hmm.
especially in the family court systems. Again, I just want to say thanks for bringing me on. I'll keep you posted as what's going to happen, but I think at the end of the day is that we made our points across, and I just hope the audience can see that we're just caring, loving parents that
Hmm.
we and our children we've been abused and we're still
Right.
being abused.
Right. And now, how do you want people to reach you, or do you want them to come through me? Probably
They
me.
can either go through you or they can reach me at Mule 1991 at yahoo.com. That was a an old black and tan coonhound I used to have.
Oh,
Used to hunt that dog years ago. But
oh,
God rest his soul, he was like 18, or excuse me, 15 and a half.
oh, wow.
But yeah, those breeds, they live a long time.
See, my husband won't let me get one.
Really?
Oh, yeah, he's deprived me. It's maternal deprivation. Uh, uh, whatever that dog breed that was.
Well, you have the black and tan coonhound, you have
Yeah.
the red tick, you have the blue tick, you have the plot, you have the mountain cur. you have the English, and you have the Walker, and some others. I had just about all of them except for the Plot. God rest their souls. And most of them I had hunted, with and over the years when I was younger.
Yeah,
But they're great disposition dogs. They're great with kids.
yeah.
Um, so basically, they're almost nocturnal. They just, most of them, yeah, I mean, they just have that built-in instinct to lay on the old farm porch,
Oh.
near your rocking chair, and then, but like I used to say, when the tailgate drops, the bullshit stops.
Ah, because well, my husband said, "No, that's a high energy dog. You don't want that coonhound." It's like, I don't see him that way. I think he's lying. But hey, don't jump off. Hang on. Slam the Gavels, a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these courtrooms. I'm your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube. Please like and subscribe. Apple, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google, and other platforms I don't know about. Again, feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep this podcast going. Thank you, Jim Schoch. You're a wealth of knowledge, and I totally appreciate you. And I've known you for almost since 2018, 2019.
Yeah, 2018. Yeah. Marianne,
Thank you.
the pleasure has been all mine. You and your husband Daryl, just and being on your show and what you've done for not only myself and everyone else, but we got to do more of this.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Well, thank you so much.
Yep. Take care. Thank you.
You too.